How's it going, everybody? My name is Infamous Isaac, and I'm here with a video on Black Clover's Spade Kingdom Raid arc. An arc that is mostly in the manga because the anime only has 3 episodes in it. So, if you don't want any manga spoilers, if you're an anime only, which is crazy because it's the first time I'm going to be saying that for this show, if you're an anime only, or if you just don't want any Black Clover spoilers in general, then I highly suggest just clicking off of the video. I am going to give my non-spoiler review for it first, and then I'm going to go into the spoilers. But for right now, just know this is mainly manga spoilers, so just be warned. Without further ado, let me get into the non-spoilers first. So as a general non-spoiler review for this arc, right? This arc is great. I really enjoyed this arc because it's funny in some ways, but really good in others, and it just makes me want to see this arc animated even more. Because this has 71 chapters, so it is long, and I know if it was animated, that it's going to be even longer than the Elf reincarnation. And I don't mind that in any way. I don't feel like it's drawn out at all because the manga chapters themselves are pretty short. But the arc itself has just really good assets. You have the story, which is phenomenal, probably the best in the series so far because of, again, more reveals. So you're just gonna be in for some plot twist after plot twist, bro. Get ready as a reader or as a viewer when this gets animated. The fighting, the best it's ever been. You're gonna see peak fights and peak character moments. And speaking of the character development in this arc, phenomenal. Probably the best it's ever been ever. You see characters and you compare them to the beginning of the show, and you just see the vast difference in how those people are now. And it's awesome. One thing I also do have to give credit to the manga for is the art. The art for the panels overall is just amazing. I can see why it's weekly, but it's also so short because the art is really good, and you have to fit as much in a week as you can, because man, it delivers when the art goes crazy. But that aside, the paneling, it's all right. For me, I have trouble distinctly telling what a fight scene is doing and where the characters are and what their motions are supposed to be. So it got a little rough for me trying to understand where some of the characters were in the impact frames for certain parts. But overall, I thought the paneling was just it was good enough to get me by. It wasn't like horrendous where oh there's too much text on the screen or oh I don't know what's going on. So it was serviceable for sure. But overall, this arc, I'd definitely give it an 8, 7.5 to an 8. I'd say that I enjoyed Elf Reincarnation more, but that's just because it was animated. So if this arc was animated, I feel like it would definitely be my favorite. But for right now, the manga version, it's definitely in 7.5 to an 8. But yeah, let me get into my spoilers. So just be ready for that. So, as a warning, I always have to do this. I am going to talk about the Spade Kingdom spoilers, manga especially. If you do not want to be spoiled, I highly recommend leaving the video now. This is your warning, you know? So just be ready. Come back when either you want to or if you watched it, you know. If not, I'll always be here. The video will always be here. So just know that. But going into the spoilers, this arc immediately picks up where the anime left off, where they have Asta basically training to master Devil Union, and the manga just immediately picks up after that, where Asta and Libe are both just together. They understand each other now, and they can form the Devil Union, right? And Noct is just basically like, all right, cool, fight me, and beat me, like destroy me, and so they're beefing, they're having a good time, and they have like 3 days left or whatever, and Asta just doesn't have enough time, right? So Noct and everybody else leaves to go and take on the Spade Kingdom, right? And Asta has to stay behind to practice. So this is where the arc really begins, because the main fights are Xenon, Dante, and Vanica. And we're gonna start with Dante first. So we have everybody invading, going into the inside of the castle, And then there's the rest of the people who are outside of the castle. Marileona is the one outside the castle. She's the only one because she's the only one that can handle the demon outside. Everybody else is handling all the three devil hosts inside. That's it. So I'm gonna go in the order of the way that they finished. So starting with Dante. Dante's was probably like the weakest in terms of the ones I enjoyed because we already had the fight between Yami and Asta versus Dante, and that one was definitely the better fight for sure. But Dante versus Jack was an underwhelming fight, honestly. I wish Jack could have done more, but it was alright. It what really comes into play is when Noct is trying to beat Dante, right? And he's just trying his best. But then you have Zora and Magna show up, and they were training this whole time, right? And that plan was to basically give Magna one ultimate magic that only he can do. And it's basically linking his soul to someone else's soul. And whether they're stronger than him or he's stronger than them, it equals out the playing field. So their magic is equal. So imagine we put a chain to each other's body, right? Me and you. And I have like 10%. You have 90%. We equal it out so it's 50. And now we're both there. We can just box each other on equal footing. That's what Magna did, right? And while Jack is getting clapped and Nox is about to die, we have all that going on. Magna shows up and he just claps Dante, like actually clowns him beyond belief. And let me tell you, I loved it. I loved every second of it because Magna deserves it, bro. And just seeing all these characters get the spotlight and just have their moments is so nice. Especially Magna, like him beating Dante was such a curveball. I would have never been able to predict it. I would have thought it would have been Asta or Noct or Jack or anybody, but no, it was Magna, and that was so cool, especially because the final panel was him just screaming a guttural scream of victory, and it hit. Let me tell you, it hit. But Magna won his ones with Dante, and Dante starts regenerating as they're all leaving because Asta actually shows up at the end of it, seeing that he won, and also Luck as well showed up, and they're all like, "Yo, Magna, you beat him," and they're just like, "Yeah, bro, like, congratulations, you did it," and they're all just mad hype for him, and so they're leaving, but Jack is just like, he's getting back up, so he stays to fight Dante to clap him, and Dante's cooked. That man's cooked basically. So he's out of the running. Mary Leona's outside still fighting the demon. She's cooking him. Like she genuinely is just one of the strongest, if not the strongest fighter in the Clover Kingdom. So there's just no debate at that point. And then you have Asta. This connects to Vanica because she's the next one. So Asta got out of the training because he managed to master the Devil Union, at least enough to be able to hold it for like 5 minutes, and it has to go on recharge for 30. So it has its uses for sure. But the reason he had to finish so early was because somebody launched an attack on the Clover Kingdom, and it was the Spade Kingdom. They had a whole attack planned, and because everybody in the Clover Kingdom, like Magic Knights, is over at the Spade Kingdom, nobody was there to defend it. And Julius is too young; he can't defend it by himself. And so Asta shows up at the nick of time because a demon was gonna blow up the entire kingdom, and then he just shows up and cuts it in two, cuts it in tween, and then leaves, and it just goes to the Spade Kingdom. And so he shows up just in time to see Dante defeated, and it's just like, bro, let me tell you, that moment would have been so hype in anime format. I can't wait to see it be animated, whether it's in a movie or an anime. But next we have Vanica's fight, and Asta is there for it. Well, in some way. Okay, so basically we have Rill and Charlotte versus Vanica, right? And they're not doing too hot. I will admit they're not doing too hot. But luckily Gaja and Noelle show up, and now they're cooking. They're actually cooking. And Noelle has the power of the water spirit Undine because Laura Peshka can't have her right now. She's being controlled. And so she attached herself to Noelle, and now Noelle is insane. Like she's genuinely cracked. And I just wanted to say that this is one of the characters I was talking about when I said you look at the characters at the start of the show and you look at them at the end at like right now. And Noelle is a completely different character. Completely. From the one who could barely control her magic to being able to have such fine control of her magic, being even comparable to captains at this point, taking on devil hosts as best as she can. It's awesome. Her and Asta have really just come such a long way. Everybody in the Black Bulls have come such a long way. And it's beautiful. It really brings a tear to my eye because it shows the progress, man. Oh man, I love it. But Noelle shows up and she's cooking shit, and they're having an amazing time. But then because they managed to beat Vanica, Magicula shows up and he's just like, yo, no, I'm not losing. What do you think this is? And then she just goes like full power and starts clapping everybody. And then Asta and Noct as well show up. Luck as well, like everybody's showing up, bro. Everybody. And they're just clapping, bro. They're trying their best to beat Magicula. And they also have to fight Laura Peshka as well. So, Rail's power, he's basically enhanced his magic so he can have it where as long as he's up and he's conscious, they can't die. They're invincible. So that's how they're able to stay in contention with Magicula. We have Charlotte as well, who's using her Briar Ward, or her Briar magic, to stop the curse and to neglect it for a certain amount of time, basically. And she's doing that to her own curse, so she's weaponizing it. And they're just cooking, bro. They're genuinely just cooking. So Noelle and Asta managed to beat Magicula, and they also managed to save Lord Peshka. Noelle doing it herself, basically. Asta taking care of Lord Peshka because he had to use his Devil Union to get over there, and he has to keep it on recharge, so he's charging during this whole process. So it's Noelle that has to beat Magicula, and they managed to do it, basically ending the curse for Laura Peshka and for everybody else. And Nozel shows up as well, and he's just talking about how he handled his relationship with Noelle and the reason why he said all those mean things. And it was because he wanted to protect her and also because a curse was put on him, so he couldn't talk about his mother. And he would put her down so she wouldn't get close to him because he loves his little sister. He wants to take care of her as best as he can, but he couldn't. And so he has to distance himself so he could take care of her from a distance, basically. And you can see that with the way that he puts her into black bowls. And now, with the way that she's grown, she can protect herself. And he realizes that he should have just accepted her and tried to call for her for help, you know? Because he can't do it alone. His mom, Asir, wouldn't have wanted that at all. He would have wanted them to work together. And so seeing his little sister do all this and accomplish this and beat a devil basically by herself with the help of others. But she was the main leader, the main proprietor. It was beautiful. It was generally beautiful, and it just shows the change in him. And now he doesn't have to worry about the devil anymore. He can actually just be an older brother now, a good older brother. So Magicula's down, the curse is done. Laura Peshka's alive, and everybody's happy. Noelle admits that she loves Asta during the fight, not to him, but she admits it to herself, like she loves him. And so now it's just basically like, hey, is it Asta? Is it Mimosa? Is it Zachary? Who knows? But the ships are definitely sailing. But next we have Xenon versus Yuno and Longris and Finral, because he shows up as well. But this fight is definitely more of a out of the way fight, but it was the most important fight for sure before the next fight. And the reason for that is because Xenon is actually an anti-hero. He's not a bad guy like Dante or Vanica is. And they're all family, you know? So we learn Xenon's backstory where he was just like Asta and Yuno, where instead of wanting to become the Wizard King, he wanted to become the military general for the Spade Kingdom. And one of his friends, he was fighting a devil, and a devil showed up in the Spade Kingdom. And Xenon had a clear shot to kill the devil, but his friend was in the way. And so he took the shot and he killed his friend in the process, saving everybody's lives at the cost of his best friend. And so Dante, he has the devil host powers, and he's to Xenon like, yo, I can give you these, just come over here. And then Xenon, after losing his friend, is like, dog, I need these powers now. I can't be weak. I can't let this happen again. And so that's why Xenon took the Devil Host, because he can't be weak. And even though it corrupted him, he still has his ambitions. And so him, Longris and Yuno are fighting him, and they're putting up a good fight. I'm not gonna lie, they are putting up a good fight. But it's just that Xenon is cracked, and the portals are opening, Clip Puff is happening, all that stuff, right? And Longris gets clapped, Finral shows up, gets clapped too, and Yuno gets knocked out basically during that, and then he wakes up and sees them both basically dying, and Yuno has this awakening in him. Since he's royalty, since he's Spade Kingdom royalty, he has special powers. And his second power, his second grimoire, is the star power, bro. And so he has two grimoires now, wind and star magic. And the man claps Xenon, bro. He comes back and he's just like, I'm a cheater, plot armor, and then he just eviscerates him. It's crazy. And so Xenon's like, where did I go wrong? Was your path the better path? Because Yuno had a shot at killing Xenon if he shot through Longris, and he didn't. So Xenon noticed this, and he's like, was your path the right path? And it's just like, I'll fight to prove that my path was the right path. And so Xenon basically dies, having the devil possess him and all that. And claps the devil. Like it's there's no contest. And he's just cracked now. He's genuinely like him and Asta. I have such a hard time telling who really is the strongest one out of both of them. Because you have Asta with the devil union and with two grimoires. It's like, bro, what's really going on here? Where did it all go so right? But next, everybody goes down to save Captain Yami and William Vengeance. So all the Black Bulls go down, and then all the Golden Dawn that are there are trying to get William. Next, we have this one dude from the Diamond Kingdom who basically is a devil host now. That Black Bulls basically fight him in a giant like Henry machine that they have. They win. They completely clap him, at least as best as they can. And it's just a really nice moment because we get to see the backstory for what's this dude's name, Noct and Yami, where it's we've seen it before, where Yami and Noct. The reason why Noct is the vice captain is because Yami and his brother Morgan, or excuse me, Yami and Noct's brother Morgan were both magic knights. Noct didn't want to be a magic knight. He was perfectly fine having Morgan be the magic knight while Noct was on the outside looking in. He felt like if he was a magic knight that he would drag Morgan's name down. But that comes into contrast with the fact that Morgan wanted Noct to be a magic knight. And since they're twin brothers, they always just loved each other. And Morgan always thought that Yami was a better fit to be Noct's brother because he understood him the best. Morgan couldn't understand him. And so when Morgan died during a devil union, because Noct's family were devil host, and so they tried to get Noct in there, and it worked. They did get him, but Morgan died in the process because he tried to stop him. And so now Noct is here with the burden of his sins for witnessing his brother die in front of him and having to tell Yami about it. He has to basically atone by living the rest of his life suffering, knowing that he basically got his brother killed. And Yami's just like, listen, you're gonna be my vice captain. I'm gonna wrangle up a group of people who have no place to go, whether they're sinners or people with bad luck in life, bad lot, or anything in between. We're gonna round them up and we're gonna make the best squad ever for people like that. And you're gonna be the vice captain. And that's how Noct became the vice captain. Because he hates Yami, but he hates him because he cares for him too much. And so they're fighting their hardest to beat the Diamond Kingdom guy. And they do. They manage to beat him with Asta pulling up with the Devil Union and Noct doing the best that he can. Everybody putting in all the effort. And they do it. They save Yami and William. And it's nice. We get to see them back in action. Yami is blunt about him and William, how he still hasn't forgiven him for the whole reincarnation stuff. But he is willing to bury the hatchet after this, after a drink. And Patri shows up as well. So Patri showed up with Noel, and everybody who was at the I forgot what it Elysium. There you go, Elysium. And so Patry's there holding William, and it's just so nice because it really goes to show. There you go, that Patry wasn't lying about William. They were really good friends, and they still are when they're together. So seeing them together and just seeing them be good friends with each other, it really shows that Asta was right. Asta was right about them being able to foster peace. The same with Lumiere. And it doesn't matter whether it's with elves or whether it's with demons or devils or humans or nothing, like anything like that. Everybody is a person. Everybody has sentience, and they can all come together to form a beautiful relationship, you know? Noct, Asta, William, and Patry, they're all examples of that, and it's beautiful, you know? But they get them. They get William and excuse me, Yami. That's his name. And now it's time for the final boss. So Dante's devil Lucifero survived because he moved on from Dante as a host, and he just reincarnated, and he's like 50% done, right? And so now the final fight in the entire arc is everybody versus Lucifero. So you have all of the Black Bulls, like every member, including Yami. You have all of the captains. You have Mara Leona. You have just everybody. It's insane. So you're there and you're witnessing this whole battle go down versus Lucifero. And Lucifero is insane. He's genuinely insane. The only person that can beat him is Asta because of his anti-magic. And so he's the vital piece of this plan. And the captains get washed. I'm gonna be honest. Like they did put up a fight. They were standing back up. They were fighting the best that they could, but they couldn't hold a candle to Lucifero. The Black Bulls were trying as well. They were stalling as best as they could for Asta to be able to heal himself, because Mimosa showed up and Yuno showed up. So Mimosa was healing Asta, and we have a nice moment where Seke finally realizes that Asta is just a generational talent. He is the Larry Bird. He is the Michael Jordan, the LeBron James, bro. He is the GOAT of his universe, and he finally realizes that, and that if Seke trained as hard as Asta did, he would be somewhere important instead of falling upward or failing upwards, you know. But it was a nice moment to see. Black Bulls aside, they get washed as well, and now it's Asta and Yuno, along with Noct and Yami, the two rivalries and friendships being fostered throughout the entire show, coming together to fight Lucifero. And it's so awesome, bro. I really enjoyed this fight. It was so dope. Seeing Noct and Yami and seeing Noct admit, like, yo, I care for you too much, man. Like, you're my brother at this point. It's and it's just like Rip Morgan and all that. Like, man, it's rough seeing that. Seeing Austin, be able to compete with Yami and Noct, it's like, oh, dog. Oh, man, it's so awesome. Because, like, I loved it when it happened in the Elf Reincarnation arc, but seeing it here, where they're even better, and it's against an enemy that's even stronger than Zagrid, like, dog, it's just, this is what I wanted. This is what it's all about. And so Yami and Noct are getting clapped. They get stabbed in their abdomens. Is knocked out, and now it's Asta and Libe versus Lucifero. They managed to pull a dub from the jaws of defeat, and it's Asta seeing memories of Libe and Alicia, or Leticia, I forgot her name, but Asta's mother, and he finally understands who his mother is. And so now we get the reveals of Asta and Yuno's mother in the same arc, and just their families. They're more than just orphans, and it hits that spot. So many plot lines are being resolved, but the plot is still going, and there's like 36 to 40 more chapters after this, because the manga isn't done. It's still going for a reason. So why is it still going? But I'll get to that in a second. So Lucifero is dead. They managed to clap him. There's a demon watching the whole time, and he takes Lucifero's heart and brings it somewhere. And we cut back to the Clover Kingdom, and we see the Scales guy who is judging Asta's, sins and everything, right? He talks to. I'm sorry, the NBA finals are happening today, and oh man, I'm so excited, bro. I'm so excited. But yeah, so it's Julius Novachrono, the first, they're not the first Wizard King, that's Lumiere, but Julius, the current Wizard King. He's talking to the Scales guy, and he's just like, man, something doesn't feel right. Even after beating Lucifero and just saving the Spade Kingdom, something just doesn't feel right. What is going on? And so the scales guy is like, I looked into some research and we're missing one devil. We got Lucifero and we got Beelzebub. That we got Lucifero and Beelzebub. Megicula is not one of the devils. The three devils that just rule over the demon realm, right? And one of them is missing. So that third one, we come to find out, was in Julius this whole time. And once the scales guy realizes this, it's over. It's too late. And now we get the reveal that Lucian, the guy who looks exactly like Julius, is the main bad guy the entire show, the entire show. And so now we have to wait for the next arc, the final arc, to see what is going on. And so we have Yuno, who is talking to his mother, who's actually still alive, Cio, and she's just talking about like, hey, so you are royalty, you can come back and rule the kingdom. What's your choice? And he's just like, as much as I want to, I still have to make good on my promise, my vow of becoming the Wizard King. And Asta said the same thing because now that Libe and him have gotten revenge on Lucifero and saved the kingdom, Libe is like, well, I mean, I got my thing done, so now I have to help you with yours, right? You're gonna become the Wizard King. And so now, end of the Spade Kingdom invasion arc. Let me tell you, this arc is great. This arc is so good. Like, I cannot wait for this arc to be animated. My only issues with it are the paneling because sometimes it can get a little weird. And for me, it's a personal gripe. I just can't tell what's going on with some of the action panels, so it just gets a little weird and wonky for me. A funny thing though that I noticed, and whether you can take this as a gripe or a critique or a critique or a nitpick is up to you. But in each of the chapters, there's always a cliffhanger, and Yuki Tabata just finds a way to put somebody into that chapter. So let's say like when Asta was fighting Lucifer, right? Yabi and Noct will show up at the end of the chapter, even though they've been there, and they're like, "Let's go beat him, Asta." You're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then Yuno's there too, and then they get clapped again, and then they show up, and then Asta's like, "I'm gonna beat you, Lucifero," at the end of the chapter, and then he gets washed again. It's like, bro, what? Every time it happens, I always giggle to myself because you notice it as soon as you can see it. And I don't mind it at all because the arc is really good, so it's perfectly fine. But it's just so funny witnessing it every time it happens because it's comical at that point. But I love it every minute because it gets me hype. It works. So I can't complain. It's just funny how you see it and it works. But that aside, this arc story was amazing. Character development was the best it's ever been. The fights were amazing. The villains were great. I really liked Vanica, Dante, and Xenon. I felt like they all had their own personalities that were they weren't fleshed out like a lot, but were fleshed out enough. Xenon being the most fleshed out, with Dante just being a terrible person, and Vanica being even worse somehow. So I felt like they were cool. The Spade Kingdom I want to learn more about, and I hope that through this they're able to form like an alliance between Heart, Spade, and Clover, and maybe even Diamond. I don't know if they can yet because I don't think they help reclaim it. So maybe they can form an alliance against the Devils, and that would be really cool. We get to see Mars again. Maybe he would become the king of Diamond, so that'd be really cool. But it's just so much speculation right now that's flowing through my head. I'm super excited. You know what? I'm bumping this up to an 8.5. This arc was really good. So actually, no, it's a 9. It's definitely a 9. So I'm a bump it up to a 9 out of 10 for sure. I feel like talking about it again and just thinking about what actually happened bumped it up a whole 1 point. So I have to give it a 9 at this point. But that's where it's staying. That is where it's staying. I'm sorry. That's where. I'm sorry for like the change, especially after the non-spoiler stuff. But yeah, so I can't wait. Going into the final arc, I am going to talk about it, at least what's currently out, and then I'm going to go on to another manga that my friend told me about. So it's super short. So it's going to be like what's currently out for that as well. But yeah, that's basically it for now for the final complete arc of Black Clover. After that, it's completely catching up to the arc to the show. So thank you all for watching. Hope y'all enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next video.